The Empire is about to release their new weapon upon the galaxy. When the weapon is complete, the rebels will have no chance of winning against the Empire in the intergalactic war. The rebels get an opportunity to destroy the Death Star when the word about an Imperial pilot fleeing the Empire with a message from Galen Erso. The rebels later find Jyn Erso, daughter of Galen Erso, the chief designer engineer of the Death Star. And with Jyn, the rebels will be able to find the location of the plans to the Death Star, and so they must travel to Scarif to have the defining battle to save the galaxy.
The plot-driven story begins with Director Krennic of the Galactic Empire arriving on the planet of Lamu. The planet is used as a hiding place from the Empire by Galen Erso and his wife and their daughter Jyn Erso. Galen hides from the Empire because he's the designer of the new weapon, the Death Star. But Galen escaped before he could finish his work. But when Director Krennic of the Empire and his Death Troopers find him, Galen has to go and confront Krennic, while his family try to hide. Galen lies to Krennic about Lyra being dead, but Krennic doesn't believe him. Lyra then comes running off to fend off Krennic and his troopers to try and save Galen, but when she pulls out her gun, she gets shot. Krennic then kidnaps Galen, but cannot find the daughter, Jyn Erso. Jyn then hides until she is found by one of Galen's friends, a man named Saw Gerrera.
The story then fast forwards 15 years, and a grown-up Jyn Erso is shown in jail. This doesn't go on for long until she is freed and captured by the rebellion. The rebellion captured Jyn because a defected Imperial pilot fled from the Empire with information from Galen Erso to Saw Gerrera, and since Jyn has lived with Saw for several years, she should be able to persuade him to hand out some valuable information. The rebellion suspects that the information is the whereabouts of Galen Erso. The rebellion also sends some rebels with Jyn and a man named Cassian Andor and his reprogrammed Imperial droid K2SO. Cassian receives another mission without Jyn knowing it. His mission is to kill Galen Erso because the rebels know that he is a key component in the development of the Empire's new superweapon, and hopefully by killing Galen, the construction will cease to be done.
Jyn, Cassian, and K2SO travel to Jedha to find Saw. When they arrive at Jedha, Cassian and Jyn travel to Jedha City while K2SO stay on the ship. In the city, the team gets attacked by a group of stormtroopers but gets saved by a blind man named Chirrut Imwe and his friend Base Malbus. But as they were recovering from the attack, they get captured by Saw's men. The men bring them to Saw's hideout and puts everyone but Jyn in a cell. In the cell, they meet the defected Imperial pilot, and the pilot explains the message he had been given about Galen's whereabouts. While they speak to the pilot, Jyn is brought to Saw. Saw shows her the message from her father. The message tells her of the Empire's new superweapon, the Death Star, a weapon the size of a small moon with the capability of destroying entire planets. But Galen also tells her about a weakness in the Death Star. One shot to the main reactor and the whole system goes down. Not long after the match is over, Director Krennic fires a test shot from the Death Star targeted at Jedha City.
Oh yeah. On impact, the shot sends out a shockwave towards Saw's hideout, and they quickly escape. Not Saw though. He said he could run no longer, so they left him. On the ship, Jyn tells the team about the message, but they don't believe her, so they head towards Edu, the place where Galen should be located at. During a rebel bombing, Galen is killed, and Jyn and the rest of the team escapes in a stolen ship. The rebel leadership does not believe in Jyn, and with Saw and Galen dead and the hologram destroyed, she can't verify the story about the weakness in the Death Star. Frustrated, Jyn, Cassian, K2SO, and a number of rebels decide to steal the plans on Scarif themselves without permission.
While Jyn, Cassian, and K2 search for the plans, the rest of the team tries to distract the stormtroopers. Meanwhile, the rebels learn about the battle and rushes to Scarif to help. Jyn and Cassian succeed in their search, but K2 dies in sacrifice to save Jyn and Cassian. To allow transmission of the plans, the rebel must take down the shield that surrounds Scarif. Imwe is killed after activating the master switch to allow communication with the rebel fleet from Rook's shuttle, and Rook and the ship is killed by a grenade. Cassian shoots Krennic, and Jin transmit the plans to the rebel ship. Tarkin arrives on the Death Star and decides to destroy Scarif, killing Jin, Cassian, and Krennic.
Jyn Erso was a former criminal who later played a pivotal role in the Alliance to restore the Republic when she destroyed the Death Star in collaboration with the other participators in the Rogue One mission. Jyn Erso is the daughter of Lyra Erso, who died when they kidnapped Jyn's father, Galen Erso, forced by the Empire to be a key component in the making of the Death Star plans. Under the kidnapping of her father, Jyn was instructed to hide in a hideout until Saw Gerrera later arrived to pick her up. Jyn Erso then became a child soldier in Saw's so-called extremist army. After being abandoned by the partisans, Jyn committed a lot of crimes to take care of herself, until she was picked up by the rebels and sent to Jeddah to find Saw Gerrera, where he had information about Galen and the Death Star project. Saw showed her a holographic recording of Galen saying that he had made a flaw in the Death Star, a flaw that would destroy the Death Star easily. With little support from the Senate, Jyn goes rogue to get to the data files located at the planet of Scarif, operating as some sort of data center. Together with Cassian Andor, Bodhi Rook, and K2SO and some other brave men, Jyn manages to hijack an Imperial spaceship, and with the help of Bodhi Rook, they get through the shield protecting the planet itself from unwanted intruders and land on the surface of Scarif. Together with Cassian Andor, Bodhi Rook, K2SO, and some other brave men, Jyn manages to hijack an Imperial spaceship, and with the help of Bodhi Rook, they get through the shield protecting the planet itself from unwanted intruders and land on the surface of Scarif, where they cause havoc.
Galen Erso, or Galen Walton Erso, father of Jyn Erso and the husband of Lyra Erso, was a well-known mathematician, theorist, and experimental physicist. As an adolescent, he was drafted into Republic's future program. Galen eventually went on to pursue his scientific career. In doing so, he met his wife, Lyra Erso. A few years later, Orson Krennic arrives at Galen Erso's home planet, Lamu, where he tries to recruit Galen for the Death Star project. In doing so, Lyra is killed, Jyn Erso hides, and Galen is taken forcefully. During the next 15 years, Galen works for the Empire, whereas he played a major role in designing the Death Star. In doing so, Galen managed to subtly implant a weak spot, therefore making it vulnerable to sabotage.
Cassian Andor. Cassian served as an officer for the Alliance. Sometime during his career, Cassian encountered the Imperial droid K2SO and reprogrammed him to serve the Alliance. On the space station of Kafrene, Cassian met Tiwik, a rebel informant. Tiwik told Cassian about a superweapon described as a planet killer. On the mission to steal the plans to the Death Star, Cassian was given a secret mission to kill Galen Erso in an attempt to stop the development of the Death Star. On Edu, he watched a meeting between Galen and Krennic and had several attempts to kill him but didn't. On Scarif, Jyn and Cassian succeeded to steal the Death Star plans and send them to the Alliance. In the end, he and Jyn watched the Death Star destroy the base and kill them and the other rebels on the mission.
Chirrut Îmwe was a traveling preacher of the Force for the Jedi Temple in the holy city of Jeddah. He was born blind, but through the Force he could see. He was born blind in the holy city, where he grew up with his friend. He later discovered that he could see through the Force. He and Base Malbus then joined the Jedi Temple at a very young age as preachers. During the Empire's occupation of Jeddah, the temple was raided and all their treasures, and the monks. No. Fuck! During the Empire's occupation of Jeddah, the temple was raided of all their treasures, and the monks were thrown out. Therefore, when Jin Urso meets Chirrut Imwe and Base Malbus, Chirrut Imwe is preaching in the streets when Jin Erso and Cassian Andor is overrun by stormtroopers on Jeddah. Chirrut Imwe then helps them by beating the shit out of a bunch of stormtroopers with the help of Base Malbus. They then join Jin and Cassian on their mission. Chirrut Imwe and Base Malbus both die on Scarif.